Okay, it is 6:32 a.m. and this is the presence of maintenance. It's the maintenance of engineered light. So when I show you what is the magnification of engineered light that is concentrated and it is piercing through the closed blinds, it's nothing other than an additional method. So I've shown you what is the maintenance, the permanent presence of what is impossible light activity. I'm standing in a living room and that is my shadow that adds at a great distance on the opposite side of the living room. That's my hand, my humongous hand. It's magnification of light. This is impossible light activity. And sunlight does not shoot like this in this manner like a laser. It does not create magnification, and it's also not occurring what is at all times of the day. This is just another color. Even when it's not supposedly preparing to be sunrise, and let me be clear, the entity has changed its times of sunrise based on how early I documented. Pay attention to my documentation. Under no circumstances is this the sun or is it sunlight? So you're breaking apart the illusion. Remember, the same analysis applies. This is before the quote unquote light source has risen, because you know it's not the sun. This is the presence of engineered light. And like I said, it has nothing to do with what is that unintelligent illusion in what's a demonic environment where a criminal system is underway by a government and the people of the state. And so I just want you to see that this is what I've already shown you before, and this is what I've shown you on what's a quote unquote cloudy day. This is what I've shown you after the entity has removed what is nothing other than concentrated magnified light that reaches into the depths of an apartment through closed blinds as the sun is supposedly rising in alignment to me and then also setting in alignment to me at the same exact address after a duration of the day that's over 10 to 11 hours. Not the sun, and also not sunlight. Not sunlight. This is the maintenance of engineered light, and it is the admission by the entity and the people of the state. It's the prima facie case of federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is a violent sex offender. As my body is being molested, understand this is an unlawful touching. You're going to prosecute. The entity wants to invade and molest the person. It's engaged. This demonic system is serving for an obsessive use and pursuit with this engineered light, this unnatural light, this creepy light, okay? And the entity is touching. It's always violating the person with it. The entity is also invading the private space and doing so, which is an ongoing psychological and emotional harm that the target individual suffers while you're even looking at it. And while it's there for purposes of ongoing surveillance by a mass amount of people, the entity, that's a sex offense, a massive sex offense, all right? While they are engaging in surveillance, real-time knowledge of everything I'm doing as I take off my clothes, as I engage in washing my person in the bathroom, any and everything that I do, remaining engaged in real-time knowledge of that, and you know that by the presence of what is absolutely impossible, the phenomenon in your private space. That's a violent sex offender. All right, I cannot stress that enough, and that is exactly how federal law is going to treat that. So the entity is engaging in what is the use of a weapon. This engineered light is weaponized against the target individual's rights, posing psychological and emotional harms, serving a criminal purpose that is underway by an entity that surrounds you inside of the private space. And again, this is before what is the light source is rising. And this same engineered light is what the demon possessed are walking around, driving around, present in, and they're all group stalking and monitoring. All right, I have already published many of those that live in the zone of relevant position. They are engaged in that mass sex offense, the perpetual sex offense that is federal group stalking and monitoring, and they will be prosecuted as such. This is going for the criminal facilitator, Ted Speaker. All right. Not only is his company, but the property that I live on, where I am subject to a perpetual sex offense committed by an entity which he is criminally facilitating. And all of the evidence is establishing that, and for which he has no constitutional defense. He will be civilly and criminally prosecuted for the criminal acts such as third-party group stalker, Universal Waste, who is engaging in that sex offense, invading my private space, engaging in that demonic behavioral pattern, serving to terrorize, and serving for what is that, engaging in that that ongoing sex offense that the entity is engaged in while placing you under ceaseless surveillance and ongoing group stalking and monitoring. It is currently 6:36 a.m. and this is just ongoing evidence of what is the presence, the remaining presence of engineered light. You're going to want to pay attention to what are the closed blinds, and that's the same thread you see in my bedroom wall shooting like a laser. It's reaching into the distance, and then it just drags it on the floor. This is entirely satanic, and this is revealing the condition of those that are group stalking in the path. They're demons in the demonic environment, and they're targeting someone, and that is going for the prosecution for a crime that they're engaging in. They are is the state of California and the people of the state. It's called federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's an exceedingly violent sex offense. It is currently 6:37 a.m. and this is P.O.C. at Alvarado Gardens, piercing through closed blinds. Remember, at nighttime, the blinds are appearing on the ceiling, okay? During the day in my bedroom, in the living room, I've shown you this same light through the center, which this iteration of light, it appears in the depths of the center of the hallway and it drags down this way. And then for some reason it goes to, there's nothing realistic about it whatsoever. It is literally satanic. It's like dragging engineered light through. It's literally satanic as you look at it. And you have what is the pattern of the blinds that you've also seen on the ceiling during the day, the line that moves across, and then you'll see it up here. This is nothing other than another iteration of the same exact pattern of conduct. In every way, an ongoing admission which is used against the entirety of an entity, because it would never naturally happen, especially when the light source is rising over 408 West G Street, apartment number 51, where you see the Ontario Police Department group stalking under that light source, and it's clearly visible by their light activity. The bushels that they're standing under, the light source is directly over me as I documented, and it remained at that address. The light source is remaining there for the duration of the day, and that's what is going on here at Alvarado Gardens. The two are not occurring at the same time. What is appearing here before the light source is even risen, by the way, through closed blinds, is not visible over the entrance of apartment number 51 in Ontario, California at Woodside Senior Apartments. Nor is it appearing at the same time for the duration of the day over the apartment 51, the door, as I've captured on video, in the middle of the day, while it is remaining outside in alignment to my office adjacent to building 1810, in alignment to me then as I go to my apartment, and then remaining directly over me for the duration. That's not the sun, and that's speaking to the maintenance of the light source and the maintenance of engineered light, which has nothing to do. This engineered light has nothing to do with the light source. It is, I'm showing you what's an absolutely unintelligent illusion, all right? In the same way that that's not the sun that was remaining over apartment 51, where third-party group stalker Tracy Banks remains, Woodside Senior Apartments, a facilitating venue is. That's not the sun, obviously, because you know how the natural environment operates. And you also know that this isn't sunlight. And you also know that because when I go to a totally different area, my apartment, and this is supposedly the sun, that's why you see the same engineered light in a totally different area, all right? Where the entity is, even though it's not even intelligent what the entity is doing, but I'm showing you how it has nothing to do with the light source that you see, because you have no explanation for the presence of that light source when you're in a totally different area, right? In the shade, in other words, and engineered magnified light is occurring. It's a pattern of conduct. But I've also gone to the extent of comparing the venues and what's over apartment 51. And it is literally above the entryway of apartment 51 as I was there. Impossible light activity was inside of that apartment of apartment 51 while I was there at Woodside Senior Apartments. And it is the specific pattern of conduct. So this is how you know what the Los Angeles Police Department are doing in the specific environment. They're group stalking, and they're also demons that are group stalking. The people of the state are in this demonic environment. They're group stalking in the environment. And this is the exposure of what is a secret society that are targeting American citizens. And they're doing it in a very specific environment, and the environment is totally unnatural, and it is a scientific impossibility. That is speaking to the phenomenon that is beyond any coincidence, and that is how you are also understanding how the conspiracy amongst the people of the state and the state is established, because those phenomenons are speaking to what is literally a concrete case established beyond a reasonable doubt. By the way, I just want to be clear, that's how the phenomenon, that's how the unnatural environment is serving for what is a surefire prosecution. But this is understanding the admission of the sex offender. The blinds are closed, okay? And the entity is, I want to point something else out to you. The entity maintains the light source here, and you want to see how it remains stationary over the property. For example, when I go to my office at 8 o'clock, it's rapidly moving over over the people of the state right here that are in a relevant position. Whereas you see it remain for in excess of 6 to 7 hours beside building 1810. You know why? Because it's in alignment to me. But it very rapidly moves over all of this property. Very rapidly, because by 8 o'clock, it's already over the building 1810 right outside of my window of the office, okay? And then, again, it vacillates. As I go back and forth to my apartment, it's outside of the window. What I can see outside of this window is not in perfect alignment in the way that it is when I'm in my office window. The entity keeps the light source in perfect alignment with me. That's called group stalking. Group stalking is being in the path. But that's just another detail. All of this is clearly, it's already demonstrated. I'm just pointing out what you will notice when you're paying attention to the details, what you'll already be made aware of. But the entity very rapidly moves over this mass of land right here, and it's already outside of the window, whereas you're paying attention to how slowly it creeps and remains on the side of building 1810. Again, that's based on where I'm at, because during the week I'm in the office working 8 to 5. During the weekend, it's not in alignment with the office. It's remaining it's remaining on the side outside, is right here outside of this window, and then also on the opposite side of my bedroom window, which is the opposite side of this same apartment. Okay, the entity is you're paying attention to that, and that's again analyzing what is not possibly the sun, analyzing what is the obsessive stalking with the light source. And it is supposed to be the guise under which you're seeing what is light, but you're also understanding what is engineered light, and it's totally separate from what is the maintenance of that light source. Again, and you've seen that in multiple ways, even at nightfall. Light lamps do not create light on the ceiling. And this is the most vivid illustration of what is the prosecution for every actor. Universal waste represents nothing other than the people of the state. The people of the state live all in the zone of relevant position. They're all engaged in this system together, and it's entirely satanic. It's prosecution for group stalking and monitoring, which is terrorism, and it is a perpetual sex offense. While you're walking through your private space, you have a right to not be subject to an unlawful touching with an instrument of criminal conduct, which is serving to violate your privacy and violate your right to be free from such an invasion, which is creating psychological and emotional torment, all right? This unnatural light creating multiple shadows, magnified in size, appearing out of nowhere, and the entity engages in the satanic behavior of increasing more of it. This is what I observed as I started analyzing the entity's use of engineered light. What I recognized was unnatural light, impossible light activity, which is exactly why I termed it that way. The entity engaged in more and more violation of it. It's as though, as I recognized it, the entity sought to come closer with it and sought to be more around me, wanted to surround more with it. It's very demonic how it takes on the character of Satan itself through the light activity. Okay, it is literally the stalker personified, if you will. And the more that I analyze it, and you've seen it in my documentation, the more that I analyze it, the more that I speak to the demon-possessed, the entity engaged in it's analyzed as a threat. You're going to prosecute, that's based on a threat. A psychopath that's engaging in totally freaky, weird, creepy conduct is threatening you, okay? And that's exactly how you're going to prosecute the demon-possessed. But as you'll pay attention through my documentation, the entity engages in flashing the directed light. It'll get brighter, then it'll get dimmer, and then it'll appear, and then it'll disappear, and then you'll just have flashing light. All of it is impossible light activity. This is the communication of a threat by the demon-possessed who are monitoring the documentation against them. And it is analyzed as an unlawful threat to your life, your physical safety, overall well-being. You're understanding the position of the ordinary target individual that is not in the position of documenting it, wouldn't even know how to speak to it or articulate it, would have nobody that would even listen to them, all right, would automatically write them off, and that's by design. That's the P.O.C. Write them off as being mentally insane, suffering from some mental incapacity. This is designed to torment, all right, and harass. And it's also for group stalkers such as 1806 number 4, who's going to federal prison, if not deported. But he's young enough to go to federal prison and then be shipped out of the country. 1806 number 4, while they engage in what is making a loud noises, stalking with audible activity creation, as I upload names of third-party group stalkers that I know, as I long press on my Google Drive, which is for purposes of selecting and then uploading it or moving files around, everything that I'm doing on a communication device, which they're monitoring, following, that is stalking with the creation of amplified audible activity. The demons in 1806 number 4 engage in what is the maintenance of audible activity creation, which is amplified while they're group stalking in the path, living in the building in relevant position while the maintained environment is present. Amplified audible activity is the practice of the demonic. The maintenance of the engineered light is the practice of the demonic, and the demonic surround in relevant position. It is the system of group stalking. And that's just an example how the people of the state who are living in relevant position, living all around in the path, are systematically monitoring, and they're engaged in a massive sex offense. All right, it is currently 6:46 a.m. and this is going for the prosecution of the people. It's going for the prosecution of the state of California and our TED speaker, whose company and property is used as an ongoing crime scene, serving for the threat to the life, physical safety, and overall well-being of an American citizen who was doing their due diligence and documenting it for his prosecution. All right, civil and criminal. This is POC.